On May 1st, 1945, a 4-year-old girl in a white nightgown stood in the cramped corridor of Hitler's bunker, singing to the telephone operator. Minutes later, her mother led her away. By morning, all 6 Goebbels children lay dead in their bunk beds, ribbons still tied in the girl's hair. Magda Goebbels left behind a farewell letter explaining her decision. She wrote that a world without National Socialism was simply not worth living in. For decades, the official story framed this as a tragic mercy killing. The children were given morphine to render them unconscious, followed by cyanide capsules to ensure a peaceful death, like drifting off to sleep. But autopsies conducted by Soviet forces told a different story. 12-year-old Helga showed heavy bruising around her jaw and cheeks, alongside clear defensive marks. She had woken up. She had fought back against her own mother. The physical evidence reframes those final moments. While the Third Reich collapsed above them, Magda Goebbels committed a visceral, violent murder. Most historical accounts stop there, buried in concrete beneath Berlin. But the bloodline of Magda Goebbels did not end in the bunker. Magda had a 7th child from her first marriage to a wealthy industrialist. Harald Quandt was 23 years old and serving as a Luftwaffe officer. At the time of the murders, he was thousands of miles away, held as a prisoner of war in Libya. He was the intended recipient of his mother's farewell letter. Harald didn't learn that his 6 half-siblings were dead until his release in 1947. His survival splits this family's legacy into 2 very different timelines. One side of the family was completely erased, while the other side went on to accumulate unimaginable wealth. The perpetrators who survived the bunker faced little consequence. Helmut Kuntz, the SS dentist who injected the children with morphine, finally stood trial in West Germany in 1959. He was acquitted. His acquittal relied on a post-war amnesty law meant to protect civil servants. It also helped that both judges hearing his case had their own former Nazi Party membership numbers. While the guilty walked free, the bodies of the victims became geopolitical tools. Soviet forces moved the remains multiple times, eventually burying them in secret at a counterintelligence facility in East Germany to use as potential leverage. They lay there for 24 years until April 1970, when KGB director Yuri Andropov issued a final secret order. Fearing the graves could become a pilgrimage site for neo-Nazis, agents exhumed the children's remains, cremated them, crushed the ashes to powder, and scattered them into a nearby river. The 6 children were thoroughly expunged from history. They were denied an adulthood, legal justice, and ultimately even a physical grave. Harald Quandt returned to a different reality. The Quandt family fortune, built largely on armaments and industrial manufacturing during the war, had survived relatively intact. Working alongside his half-brother Herbert, Harald immediately began rebuilding their business empire from the rubble of post-war Germany. By the 1960s, the brothers made a pivotal move. They acquired a controlling stake in a struggling, uncertain automaker named BMW. This chart maps the timeline of BMW's financial trajectory following the Quandt acquisition. The brothers heavily restructured the company's management, perfectly positioning it to capture the explosive growth of the West German economic miracle. The contrast is jarring. In the exact same years that the Goebbels children's bones were being ground to dust in a secret Soviet compound, Harald's bloodline was laying the foundation for one of the most successful corporate empires in all of global history. In 2005, Rokas Mish, the bunker telephone operator who was one of the last people to see the children alive, made a proposal. He asked to build a memorial plaque for them. His argument was straightforward. The children had no agency. They were innocent victims, murdered by their parents' fanatical ideology, bearing zero responsibility for the crimes of the Third Reich. The proposal sparked fierce public debate. It raised a deeply uncomfortable philosophical question. How do you memorialize the offspring of high-ranking Nazis without inadvertently honoring the family name? The plaque was never built. History has no clean category for the innocent children of monsters, leaving them entirely unmemorialized. That absence sits in sharp contrast to the highly visible legacy of Harald Quandt's descendants. Today, heirs Suzanne Klatten and Stefan Quandt are fixtures of global finance, remaining among the wealthiest people in Germany with tens of billions. Magda Goebbels' ideology collapsed in that bunker, and her name faded into infamy. But the fortune tied to her bloodline survived, thrived, and lives on in the cars parked in our driveways today.